Kendrick Lamar just executed the most savage industry takeover in Grammy history and exposed everything they've been hiding for 40 years straight. An independent West Coast masterpiece with zero major label strings attached just detonated the entire establishment's credibility in one catastrophic night. Bad Bunny snatched Album of the Year, but that's just smoke and mirrors for what really went down. Kendrick seized Record of the Year with Luther, annihilated the competition with 5 total Grammys, and crowned himself the most decorated rapper in Grammy existence. While Drake's lawyers are drowning in courtroom humiliation, J. Cole's entire album strategy just disintegrated under Kendrick's nuclear dominance, and the game is desperately screaming challenges that nobody's even acknowledging. The industry really believed they could keep suffocating hip-hop's throat music forever. Before the truth detonates your mind, smash that like button. Subscribe music now. You cannot afford to miss what's coming. Stop everything you think you know. Kendrick Lamar stormed into the crypto Calm Arena on February 1st, 2026, carrying 9 Grammy nominations for GNX. His 6th studio weapon released independently through PG Lang and Interscope with absolutely zero corporate puppet strings. He was nominated for Album of the Year, the most coveted trophy in the entire music universe. Bad Bunny's debut at Masoto seized that category, becoming the first Spanish-language album to ever claim the throne. But Kendrick, he still devastated the competition with 5 Grammys, including Best Rap Album for GNX and Record of the Year with Luther featuring SZA, launching his career total to a staggering 27 awards. That officially makes him the most awarded rapper in Grammy history, obliterating Jay-Z's previous record. This man really just proved an independent album could detonate the entire foundation of the music establishment. Now, music. Watch me dismantle exactly how Kendrick orchestrated this execution and why everyone is scrambling in absolute terror to respond. Let me show you the undeniable receipts that prove this Grammy annihilation was calculated from the beginning. On November 22nd, 2024, Kendrick detonated GNX with zero warning, no rollout, no major label propaganda machine behind it. Just pure unfiltered West Coast hip-hop, released through his own PG Lang empire. According to Pitchfork on February 2nd, 2026, Kendrick captured Best Rap Album that night, destroying Clips's Let God Sort 'Em Out, Glorilla is Glorious. When I analyze that lineup, I realize that's an absolutely stacked category with legitimate competition. And Kendrick still massacred everyone without breaking a sweat. But here's where reality starts warping into something terrifying. Music. At the 2025 Grammys just 12 months earlier, Kendrick swept all 5 nominations for Not Like Us, his Drake Annihilation track. According to Grammy, on February 3rd, 2025, he won Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Rap Performance, Best Rap Song, and Best Music Video for that single track. When I discovered he tied The Fifth Dimension's Up and Away as the most awarded song in Grammy history, I had to verify that statistic multiple times because it seemed impossible. That's unprecedented domination that defies all historical precedent. Now, catapult forward to February 1st, 2026. Music. The New York Times reported that Kendrick and Bad Bunny were the top winners with Kendrick, Music, capturing Record of the Year again, this time for Luther with SZA. That's back Record of the Year victories in consecutive years. The last time someone achieved that feat, it literally does exist in modern Grammy history. You cannot accomplish that level of dominance and expect anyone to question your generational supremacy. Forbes confirmed on February 1st, 2026 that this victory extended Kendrick's remarkable Grammy stranglehold and that GNX marked his 5th consecutive studio album nominated for Album of the Year. According to CBS News, he's the first artist in Grammy history to achieve that 5-in-a-row nomination streak. When the statistics are this devastating, there's literally no debate remaining in existence. But music, check this explosive revelation. While Kendrick was rewriting history, Drake was in a New York courtroom suffering a music catastrophic legal defeat. Rolling Stone reported on October 9th, 2025 that Drake lost his defamation lawsuit against Universal Music Group over Not Like Us. A federal judge brutally ruled the lyrics were non-actionable opinion and part of a heated rap battle. When I read that court ruling, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This man tried to weaponize the legal system to escape getting lyrically destroyed. That's the most pathetic move I've ever witnessed from someone who claims to represent rap culture. The New York Times on October 9th, 2025 published a court opinion stating Drake's claims were dismissed because diss track lyrics are protected speech. The judge wrote that the vitriolic war of words in rap battles doesn't qualify as defamation under any legal standard. And then because Drake apparently doesn't understand when he's been defeated, Billboard reported on January 21st, 2026 that Drake is appealing the dismissal. This man is fighting a losing legal war, while Kendrick is collecting trophies on the biggest stage in music. That's beyond embarrassing. That's career-ending humiliation. Now that we've established the receipts, music, let's connect the explosive dots nobody else is brave enough to discuss. Remember that Super Bowl 59 halftime show on February 9th, 2025? That happened less than a year before these Grammys, and set the stage for everything that followed. Kendrick performed at the Caesars Superdome and unleashed Not Like Us in Euphoria, both Drake Annihilation tracks on the biggest stage in American sports. Music Variety reported the crowd literally screamed a minor when Kendrick let them finish the pedophile allegation line. Entertainment Music Tonight confirmed Drake was furious about the performance, and that Kendrick even brought out Serena Williams, who used music to date Drake as a surprise guest to twist the knife deeper. So Kendrick humiliated Drake in front of 123 million viewers on a global stage, then weaponized that momentum straight into Grammy season. That's catastrophic timing for Drake's entire career trajectory. And here's the connection people are completely missing. Drake's lawsuit was dismissed in October 2025, just 4 months before Grammy voting closed. According to the New York federal court documents, the judge ruled against Drake on October 9th, 2025. That means when Recording Academy members were casting their ballots for the 2026 Grammys in late 2025, they were watching Drake lose in court, while Kendrick was writing the biggest diss track, music, victory in modern hip-hop history. The optics absolutely devastating for Drake's credibility, but it gets exponentially deeper. GNX wasn't just any album release. It was Kendrick's first project after leaving Top Dog Entertainment and Aftermath Entertainment, his longtime label homes. According to Turntable Labs' description, this was his full independence declaration of war. He built PG Lang with his creative partner Dave Free, and GNX proved he doesn't need the traditional industry machine to dominate. That's why the Grammy nominations felt like an industry earthquake that shattered foundations. Here's an artist who abandoned the system, did it his way with zero compromise, and still forced the establishment to recognize him at the highest level. So Kendrick orchestrated this 3 days after the lawsuit dismissal was publicly announced. And people think that timing was accidental. Absolutely not. Kenny planned this like a chess grandmaster executing a checkmate sequence. Meanwhile, J. Cole, who was supposed to drop the fall off in early 2026, suddenly finds himself releasing music in a news cycle completely dominated by Kendrick. Wrap-Up reported on January 30th, 2026 that Music Cole confirmed the fall-off became a double album after he was incredibly re-inspired by events in 2024. Translation: the Drake-Kendrick forced Cole to scrap his original plans and start over from scratch. That's collateral damage on a catastrophic scale. Any strategically intelligent person would have waited for the Kendrick hype to cool down before dropping. But J. Cole isn't operating from a position of strength right now after apologizing for stepping into the beef. Now check this explosive revelation. Nobody's talking about the symbolism Kendrick music embedded in GNX. The album title itself is a reference to the 1987 Buick GNX, a legendary muscle car from Compton. According to automotive journalist Bowie Badass on Twitter, Kendrick owns the actual car number 191 of only 547 ever built. He's even mentioned internal GM build codes in past lyrics. That car represents American muscle, independence, and music West Coast legacy. By naming his independent album after a car that's rare and uncompromising, Kendrick was making a statement music before anyone even pressed play. If you still think album titles don't matter after all this cultural weight, you're just not paying attention to music, the layers. Now, let's break down the GNX track list forensics. The album opens with whacked out murals, a title immediately referencing Kendrick's mural in Compton that got vandalized multiple times during the Drake beef. That's him addressing the disrespect heathen in the first seconds of the album. Then track 2 is Squabble Up, a West Coast term for getting ready to fight. The sequencing alone is telling a story. Disrespect, preparation, execution. And the game just confirmed he caught that message, which is why he responded with desperation. Speaking of the game, Hot New Hip Hop reported on January 30th, 2026 that Game dropped Kendrick on his new Gangsta Grillz mixtape with DJ Drama. On the intro track, Whatever, Game said, "If I ain't the best rapper from Compton, it got be Kendrick. Tell him to come." Ended. That a public challenge on a DJ Drama tape, the most respected platform for lyrical warfare. And the Game really didn't catch that Kendrick been ending people for 2 years straight without breaking a sweat. That's embarrassing for someone who claims Compton lineage and respect. The forensic detail everyone missed. Kendrick's Grammy speech. When he accepted Best Rap Album on February 1st, 2026, he kept it music short, under 60 seconds. No lengthy thank yous, no emotional breakdowns, just a quick acknowledgement and off the stage. Music, that's confidence. When you know you're the best, you don't need to convince anyone or beg for validation. Compare that to Drake's desperate legal filings and appeal briefs try and convince a judge that rap lyrics hurt his feelings. One man is moving in silence with power. The other is screaming into a void. And here's the final forensic layer. GNX's lack of features. The album has SZA, Baby Keem, and a few West Coast artists, but no mainstream crossover guests, no pop stars, no radio pandering, no algorithm manipulation. According to the disco's listing, it's pure Kendrick backed by West Coast producers like Soundwave, DJ Mustard, and Jack Antonoff. That's him saying, "I don't need anyone else to validate this." And the Grammys still gave him 5 awards. If the Game had half the strategic mind Kendrick has, he wouldn't be chasing clout on mixtape intros right now. Now, let's see how the media covered this story music and where they catastrophically got it wrong. Complex called Kendrick's 2026 Music Grammy Night a victory lap, but downplayed the historical significance of him becoming the most awarded rapper ever. Their coverage focused on Bad Bunny winning Album of the Year, which is fair, but they treated Kendrick's 5 wins like a footnote. That's major disrespect. But Hot New Hip Hop and XXL went harder. XXL MAG posted on January 30th, 2026 that Kendrick walked away with 5 awards, including Album of the Year for GNX, Best Rap Album, Best Rap Song for TV Off, and others. Wait, some outlets said he won Album of the Year. Others said Bad Bunny won it. Let me clarify this confusion. Bad Bunny took the main AOTY prize, but Kendrick swept Best Rap Album and Record of the Year. The confusion proves how dominant his night was. People couldn't even keep track of all his wins because they were happening so fast. Vice went even further, publishing an analysis about how GNX represents the death of major label dependency in hip-hop. They framed Kendrick's dominance as proof that artists don't need traditional industry infrastructure. That's the real story. Now, some people are saying Kendrick should have won Album of the Year over Bad Bunny. Here's why that doesn't hold, but here's the rebuttal. Kendrick's GNX was the first fully independent West Coast rap album to be nominated for AOTY in the streaming era. Both moments are historic. The media trying to spin this as Kendrick lost are just looking for controversy when both artists won that night. The Shade Room and TMZ focused on Music Drake's absence in his legal battles, treating the Grammys as a Drake versus Kendrick proxy war. But that framing misses the point. This wasn't about Drake anymore. Kendrick moved past that beef and forced the industry to recognize hip-hop's legitimacy. The media trying to keep the Drake narrative alive are just chasing clicks, music. But the receipts show Drake is irrelevant to the story. Now, think about it. Drake wasn't even at the ceremony. He didn't get nominated. His lawsuit got dismissed. His appeal is going nowhere. Meanwhile, Kendrick is on stage collecting hardware, setting records, and cementing his legacy. That's the definition of moving on while your opponent is stuck in the past. And honestly, that's what makes this whole situation so fascinating. Kendrick didn't need to respond to the Game's challenge, didn't need to acknowledge Drake's legal drama, didn't even need to campaign for Album of the Year. He just showed up, collected his trophies, and reminded everyone why he's untouchable. But here's what nobody's saying, and this is explosive truth the industry is terrified for you to discover. The mainstream narrative is Kendrick, have a great night, but Bad Bunny made history. Cool. Congratulations to Bad Bunny. Seriously, that's huge for Latin music representation. But here's the real story they're desperately burying. The Grammys did not give Kendrick Album of the Year because they're absolutely terrified of what that would represent. Listen carefully. Kendrick Lamar's GNX was a fully independent, uncompromising West Coast rap album with no pop crossover, no radio pandering, no label machine. If the Grammys gave him Album of the Year, they'd be admitting that hip-hop doesn't need their approval anymore. They'd be admitting that the entire system they built, where major labels control narratives, where pop crossovers determine legitimacy, where white gatekeepers decide what's Grammy-worthy, is completely obsolete. And you want to know why they can't admit that? Because the Grammys have a 40-year history of systematically disrespecting hip-hop. NPR published an article in January 2018 titled, "Same Old Rap, the Grammys race toward irrelevance," that straight up said, "The Grammys are not here for hip-hop." Stacker analyzed the numbers and found that hip-hop appeared in only 63% of record of the year nominations since 1989, music, despite being the most popular genre in America for the past decade. Vibe listed 10 rap albums that got snubbed from AOEY nominations. The Marshall Mathers LP, Stankonia, Get Rich or Die Trying, Good Kid, M.A.D. City, all classics that the Grammys ignored. Now, here's where it gets uncomfortable for them. Kendrick's GNX being nominated for AOTY was his 5th consecutive nomination in that category. That's music unprecedented. No artist in Grammy history had ever been nominated for Album of the Year 5 times in a row. CBS News confirmed that stat on February 1st, 2026. So, the Grammys have been forced to acknowledge Kendrick's dominance for half a decade, but they've never given him the big prize. Why? Because giving a conscious independent rap album the highest honor would expose their bias. Here's the deeper layer. This isn't just about Kendrick. If Kendrick wins AOTY for GNX, the Grammys are admitting they were wrong about Tupac, Nas, Kanye, Eminem, and every other rap legend they snubbed. Remember Lauryn Hill's? The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is the only hip-hop album to ever win Album of the Year, and that was in 1999, 27 years ago. In that time, rap has become the dominant force in global music, and the Grammys have given AOTY to Taylor Swift 4 times. Make it make sense. So, when I see Bad Bunny win Album of the Year in music, again, much respect to him, I also see a strategic move by the Recording Academy. They can claim they're progressive by giving the award to a Spanish-language album, which is genuinely historic. But they avoid the conversation about why they've systematically excluded pure hip-hop from the top prize for nearly 3 decades. That's a music definition of institutional gatekeeping, disguised as progress. And Kendrick knows this. That's why he kept his acceptance speech under 60 seconds. He's not asking for their validation anymore. He took his 5 trophies and reminded the world that the culture doesn't need the Grammys. The Grammys need the culture. And Drake, this man is music. Playing checkers while Kendrick is playing chess on a completely different dimensional level. Drake tried to use a legal system to fight a rap battle. He filed a defamation lawsuit, got it dismissed, and music is now appealing the dismissal, while Kendrick is at the Grammys collecting awards. That's desperation at the highest level. Drake thought he could use white institutional power, the courts, to silence Kendrick's artistic expression. The judge said absolutely not. And now Drake is stuck looking like someone who can't handle the culture he claimed to represent. If you still defend Drake after watching him try to sue his way out of a lyrical battle, you're not defending hip-hop. You're defending your own bias. The industry is in absolute panic mode right now because Kendrick just proved the old model is dead. You don't need a major label rollout. You don't need pop features. You don't need to compromise your art. You just need to be undeniably great. Music and the Grammys, despite their historical bias, could not ignore that. They gave Kendrick 5 awards, but withheld the big one because giving him AOTY would be admitting their entire legacy is built on excluding voices like his. That's the truth they're too scared to say out loud. What we're witnessing here is a complete shift in how power moves in the music industry. Kendrick didn't ask permission. He didn't play the game. The more you compromise for mainstream acceptance, the more you lose what made you special in the first place. So what happens next? Let me give you 3 explosive scenarios that are about to detonate. And trust me, in every single scenario, Kendrick wins. Scenario 1, music. Kendrick is going to ignore all the noise and focus on his grand national tour, which was announced for 2026 and hits 18 countries. He's not responding to the game's challenge because the game is not a threat. He's a distraction. When Kendrick stays silent, the game is going to look desperate, dropping songs into the void with no response. Mark my words, the game will release at least 2 more tracks trying to bait Kendrick, and Kenny won't even acknowledge them. That silence is going to hurt the game more than any music diss track ever could. The world is going to watch the game scream for attention, while Kendrick sells out arenas across the music globe. And when that happens, people will remember who the real King of Compton is. Scenario 2, J. Cole's The Fall Off is going to drop sometime in 2026. Music. And it's going to be good, but it won't matter. The entire news cycle is Kendrick right now. Cole can drop a double album, and it'll get buried under Kendrick's Grammy dominance, tour announcements, and potential surprise drops. If Cole drops this spring, he's competing with Kendrick's Victory Lap. If Cole drops this summer, he's competing with Kendrick's World Tour headlines. Cole already apologized for stepping into beef. Now he's stuck watching Kendrick dominate the culture from the sidelines. That's the consequence of backing down when the stakes were music highest. Scenario 3, Drake. He's going to keep fighting that legal appeal, and he's going to lose again. Music. The Second Circuit Court of Appeals is not going to overturn a First Amendment ruling that protects artistic expression. When that appeal gets denied, probably by mid-2026, Drake will have spent millions of dollars in legal fees just to prove he can't handle being dissed. His fan base is already fracturing. People who used to defend him are starting to ask, why is he still fighting this? That's when you know you've lost the culture. Looking at the bigger picture, this Grammy moment is going to be studied for decades as the night that everything changed. Music historians are going to point to February 1st, 2026 as the night the old guard finally had to acknowledge what the culture has known for years.